Today's video is dedicated to a special kind of horror, the divisive ones. Those films that critics and audiences either love or hate. The kind that spark debates, cause walkouts, or leave you speechless. And we're starting strong. The first movie we'll explore is Darren Aronofsky's Mother, one of the most controversial psychological horrors of the last decade. The movie premiered in 2017, and from the moment it hit theaters, it split opinions right down the middle. Some called it a masterpiece, others a pretentious mess. Directed and written by Darren Aronofsky, the same mind behind Black Swan and Requiem for a Dream, this is a film that dares you to love it or hate it. There's no middle ground. And that's kind of the point. This movie doesn't want to be liked by everyone. It wants to be felt, to unsettle, disturb, and stay with you. Here's the story, in the safest, spoiler-free way possible. We follow a woman, played by Jennifer Lawrence, living in a quiet, isolated house with her partner, played by Javier Bardem. She's trying to rebuild their home, their life, their peace. But that peace is shattered when unexpected guests start arriving. First a mysterious man, then his equally strange wife, then more. What begins as a slightly awkward dinner visit soon spirals into something surreal, chaotic, and increasingly disturbing. The more they arrive, the more her world unravels, and you're left wondering, is this real, a dream, or something else entirely? At the center of all this is Jennifer Lawrence. Her performance is magnetic. She plays the entire film in a constant state of rising anxiety, and the camera rarely leaves her face. She's vulnerable, confused, angry, and completely alone in her own home. Javier Bardem plays the enigmatic partner, an artist craving inspiration and, more importantly, adoration. He's cold yet charismatic, and the way he interacts with the growing crowd is both fascinating and deeply unsettling. Then there's Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer. They bring a chaotic energy that slowly breaks the sense of order in the house. Michelle Pfeiffer in particular, she steals every scene she's in. Sharp, invasive, seductive. Each character isn't just a person, there's something more, something symbolic. Which brings us to Symbolism. It's not just a horror film, it's an allegory. The movie is packed with biblical references, and I mean packed. Mother is Mother Nature. Him is God. Or at least Aronofsky's unsettling interpretation of one. Men and woman, Adam and Eve. And yes, their sons mirror Cain and Abel. But it's not just religious, it's environmental, political, personal. You could see it as a retelling of Genesis, or a metaphor for how we treat the planet, or even a story about toxic love, narcissism, and exploitation. Every viewer walks away with a different theory, and that's part of the film's genius, or madness, depending on who you ask. Now, as for the reception, Mother bombed at the box office. Made on a budget of around $30 million, it barely broke even, and many mainstream audiences hated it. Critics completely divided. Some called it riveting, horrifying, and unlike anything you've ever seen. Others, self-indulgent, chaotic, and too abstract for its own good. On Rotten Tomatoes, it sits somewhere between brilliance and disaster. On IMDb, it's praised for its cinematography, sound design, and its ability to evoke real, visceral discomfort. But whether loved or hated, everyone agrees on one thing. It gets under your skin. So, where do I stand? For me, Mother is more than a film. It's a nightmare that breathes. Watching it felt like being stuck in a dream you can't wake up from, and it only gets worse, more intense, more suffocating. I saw it in theaters with my sister, and when the credits rolled, we just sat there, silent, for a good 20 minutes. We didn't know what to say, and that silence, that was the impact. It's not a fun film. It's not a clear film, but it's one of the few modern horror movies that dared to be poetry, even if that meant alienating half the audience. In a world so obsessed with clarity and comfort, Mother chooses discomfort and confusion. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Mother and want to experience it blind, now's the time to skip ahead to the next movie. Because now, I need to talk about two scenes that haunted me. First, the baby scene. After mother gives birth, exhausted and alone, she wakes up to find her baby gone, taken by the crowd. What follows is brutal. The child is passed from hand to hand and eventually killed and consumed. It's one of the most shocking moments I've ever seen in a cinema. Jennifer Lawrence's performance here, heartbreaking. You feel every scream, every piece of her breaking. Second, the arrival of the strangers, Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer. This is when the anxiety begins. They're guests, but they invade, asking too many questions, pushing boundaries, making themselves at home. It's subtle at first, and then it spirals. That moment, the slow erosion of safety, is what the entire film builds on. It starts there and never lets go. Mother is not for everyone, and that's okay. It's a chaotic, emotional, deeply symbolic film that asks a lot from its audience, but it also gives something rare in modern horror, a raw, artistic experience. I don't love Mother because it's easy. I love it because it challenged me. It stayed with me. It made me reflect on art, on humanity, on destruction. And if a horror movie can do all that, then in my book, it's a damn good one. Alright, deep breath. That was just the first film. If you're enjoying this video and wish your life was just watching and talking about movies too, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps, and I'd love to have you around for the next videos. Now, let's move on to the second movie I want to talk about. Lake Mungo. After the chaos and allegory of Mother, we shift gears for the second film in our exploration of divisive horror, Lake Mungo, a quiet Australian mockumentary from 2008 that rarely makes it onto mainstream horror lists. And yet, for many, including myself, it's one of the most emotionally devastating horror films ever made. Directed by Joel Anderson, who, interestingly, never directed another feature, Lake Mungo follows a grieving family after the sudden drowning of their teenage daughter, Alice Palmer. And here's the twist. Though marketed as a ghost story, this film is really about something deeper. Lake Mungo is a meditation on grief, silence, and the invisible emotional ghosts we all carry. The film is presented as a documentary, with interviews and footage that piece together the events following Alice's death. We hear from her parents, June and Russell, and her brother Matthew, as they process her passing and begin to suspect something strange is going on in their home. Is Alice truly gone, or is something of her still lingering? But rather than chasing jump scares or cheap thrills, Lake Mungo quietly burrows into the psychological toll of mourning. The film's horror lies not in what we see, but in what we feel, that lingering ache of absence and the sense that even those closest to us may be strangers in ways we never realized. Every performance in Lake Mungo feels painfully real. The actors, many of them relatively unknown, deliver understated, documentary-style interviews that feel so authentic, you might forget you're watching fiction. June Palmer, the mother, stands out in particular. Her expressionless face and flat voice aren't signs of bad acting. They're signs of a woman whose grief has drained her of affect. She's emotionally frozen, dissociative. In many ways, her silence speaks louder than anything she could say. Cinematically, the film is quiet. The camera doesn't draw attention to itself. The visuals often mimic amateur footage, still frames, low-res recordings, family photos. It feels mundane, but that's what makes the small moments of horror so impactful. Because Lake Mungo doesn't scream, it whispers. It unsettles you not through volume, but through silence, through suggestion, through things half seen in the background of a photograph or a fleeting detail in a grainy video. What makes Lake Mungo so divisive is also what makes it brilliant. Some viewers expect a ghost story in the traditional sense, with escalating tension and a climactic confrontation. That's not what this film is. Instead, it's a story about the unknowability of the people we love. It's about buried secrets, the weight of shame, and the ways grief distorts memory. There's a quote that sums up the entire film. Alice kept secrets, She kept the fact she kept secrets a secret. The ghosts in Lake Mungo aren't just supernatural. They're metaphorical. Ghosts of repressed trauma, of missed opportunities, of things never said. Critically, Lake Mungo has developed a passionate cult following over the years. On YouTube, creators like Rockland Graves have praised it for its emotional depth and unique structure. Some even call it one of the greatest found footage films ever made. But there's a flip side. Many horror fans find it slow or uneventful. I've seen comments like, "Nothing happens for 90 minutes," or "I was waiting for a scare that never came." And that's fair. If you go in expecting a traditional haunting, you'll be disappointed. But if you're open to a more introspective, melancholic kind of horror, Lake Mungo might just haunt you for real. If you haven't seen Lake Mungo yet and want to experience the story without knowing its secrets, now's the time to skip ahead a few minutes. I'll be diving into the twist, the final montage, and what they reveal about the film's deeper meaning. Still here? Alright, let's get into it. Throughout the film, we follow Alice's family as they deal with strange occurrences after her drowning, unexplained noises, eerie images in photos and videos, even alleged sightings of her ghost. Her brother Matthew captures some of this on camera, but later admits to faking parts of it, hoping to give his parents some sense of closure or hope. At first, it seems like that's the end of the mystery, that there's nothing supernatural going on, that it's all just grief, fabrication, and projection. But then comes the twist, and the true gut punch of Lake Mungo. Late in the film, the family recovers footage from Alice's cell phone, video she secretly recorded during a school trip to the real Lake Mungo. In this grainy, dimly lit clip, Alice wanders alone in the desert at night. Then she sees something, a dark, silent figure, standing in the distance. As the camera slowly adjusts, we realize with horror what we're looking at. It's Alice herself, bloated, waterlogged, and dead, just as she was found after drowning. This moment is chilling not because of gore or violence, but because of what it implies. Alice saw her own death. She saw what was coming, and she knew. It's not a malevolent haunting. It's a kind of temporal echo, a closed loop, a moment in time where the past and future collapse into each other. And she carried that knowledge, silently, until it came true. In the end, Lake Mungo isn't about ghosts. It's about the invisible emotional residue we leave behind, about how hard it is to truly know someone, and about how loss fractures, not just families, but memory itself. It's not a film that scares you in the traditional sense. It's a film that haunts you, quietly, patiently. And now for the final film in today's lineup, we're diving into something truly unsettling. The 2017 indie sci-fi horror The Endless, directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. A film that blends Lovecraftian horror with existential dread and asks its audience one big question: would you surrender to something bigger than yourself? The Endless isn't your typical horror movie. It's quiet, patient, and full of creeping unease. From the moment it premiered, audiences were either entranced by its slow-building tension or frustrated by its ambiguity. Some call it brilliant, an indie masterpiece with deep existential themes. Others, too slow, too obscure, and overly dependent on its cryptic storytelling. The film dares you to understand it, but never holds your hand. That's part of its charm, or part of its challenge, depending on who's watching. Here's the setup, without ruining too much. Two brothers, Justin and Aaron, fled a UFO cult as kids. Now, adults, their lives aren't exactly thriving. When a mysterious videotape arrives, showing a familiar face from the past, they decide, reluctantly, to return. But as they reconnect with their old community, strange things start happening. Time loops, eerie celestial events, and a force, something unseen, that seems to be watching them. Reality twists. The brothers are forced to question everything they believe. And soon, they have to decide: stay, leave, or surrender to something far beyond their understanding. At the center of the movie are Justin and Aaron, played by the film's directors themselves. Justin, the older brother, is skeptical and controlling. He pulled Aaron out of the cult years ago, believing it was dangerous. He sees their return as a mistake. Aaron, the younger brother, is more open-minded. Nostalgic for his childhood, he starts to wonder if leaving was ever the right choice. And then there's Hal, the cult's apparent leader, intelligent, enigmatic, and eerily welcoming. He and the other members seem peaceful, but their calm hides something much bigger. The cast is understated, naturalistic. Their performances feel real, making the supernatural elements even more unsettling. The symbolism. This is where the endless gets fascinating. It's not just sci-fi horror, it's philosophical horror. Are the brothers trapped by a higher power? A god? A cosmic force? Is their cult truly free? Or is their existence predetermined? The film plays with time loops, visual illusions, and unsettling rituals to challenge the viewer. If you knew your fate was inevitable, would you fight it or accept it? And all this unfolds under the watchful presence of something. An entity, a god, a storyteller. You never see it, but you feel it. So, now, how did people react to The Endless? It performed modestly, an indie production with a limited budget, but critically, a split opinion. Some hailed it as genius, a compelling experience that proves you don't need a big budget to create something extraordinary, by Roger Ebert. Others found it frustrating, too vague, too slow, and too reliant on mystery instead of payoff. Rotten Tomatoes celebrates its genre-fluid nature, while others criticize its pacing and abstract storytelling. It's a film that lingers, whether in fascination or frustration. For me, The Endless is something special. Few films capture the feeling of constant questioning the way this one does. Every scene builds unease. Every answer leads to more questions. And the budget? Limited, yes. But instead of hindering the film, it adds an extra layer of realism. It feels grounded, making the supernatural elements even more jarring. The performances are subtle, the filmmaking is precise, and by the time it's over, you're left staring at the screen, piecing everything together. But now I need to talk about moments that stuck with me. So spoilers alert. First, the cult members and their bizarre rituals. From their shooting games to their unsettling struggle traditions, everything they do feels off, like it's being performed for someone else. Then, there's the visual clues, the floating baseball, the rope that stretches into the sky. These moments aren't just creepy, they hint at something watching, playing with reality like a toy. And finally, the escape sequence. As the brothers realize the truth, the entity attacks, time collapses. Their final moments in the camp become a race against something they barely understand. It's tense, chaotic, and the ultimate proof that The Endless is far more than just a horror movie. So, final verdict. The Endless isn't a film for everyone. It's cryptic, slow, and demands patience. But if you embrace its mystery, it rewards you with one of the most thought-provoking horror experiences in recent years.